this was set up for a project that my costume design class was doing on how to research the origin of regional dress. So we were trying to figure out the way you interact with the library website and library catalog is not exactly the same as the way you interact with Google. Some of the phrasing and the way you do it is a little different. So for instance, the library catalog, when you do search terms, you use commas. Google, I don't think you need to. The best sources are museums and academic sources. So this was, for instance, it was like how to find regional dress of Ukraine. And Google search phrase was folk dress, history, region, PDF. There was something about edu-Pinterest that got you the right kind of Pinterest images. And then the library, there's a lot there. So when you're using the library, I would start with research and learning. There. Okay, so research and learning, this is the thing that you want to know is you're a research librarian because each major has a research librarian that focuses on their topic. So you might as well use them because they're free. So research librarians is here. You can also do library chat. There's the how-to video tutorials, and then there are these things, research guides. And the research guides are usually by major. Most of the majors have set one up. There's also how-to video tutorials on how to use the library. Caltech Library, you should know that you have access to that. Let's go back up. Here we are, Art Center, Lib Guides. So there are 73 of these guides. Resource guides, archives and special collections, art of research, Chat GPT and generative AI. There's a whole research guide on that. Some of these were set up quite a while ago. Entertainment design, humanities. I set one up for fashion early on. So these are all these categories that you can go in and search. Textiles. So this is Gwen Conaway, who teaches the history of fashion for entertainment design. FIT, Fashion History Timeline blog, which is pretty good. Now, there's one here that probably is not valid anymore. Museum, FIDM Museum. So it's the ASU FIDM Museum because ASU bought them out. But they have quite a bit of information there. Okay, so what I wanted to do here is also a theoretical one on, let's say, Google. The thing is that it depends on the order you put things in. I still do commas anyway, because that's how I learned it all. So I would do the major topic first, so have watches. Then I would do the things that are important is the hierarchy. 1930s, I say historic because otherwise, with a lot of this stuff, I'm going to get these, especially if I use it for clothing, I'll get cosplay and or Halloween costumes or something like that. That's not what I want. I want the real thing. So I will use words like historic and vintage to get me the real thing. Then I'm looking at Berlin, just theoretical German design, and I discovered that there was a bunch of these on Einstein's watch. So I put that in, and I discovered it by just doing this first one without the word Einstein. So when I go to these, you have to be sure that these sites are for real. And let me do, I think it was here. Okay. And you have to read them because there may be information hidden that you don't know about. So there's this watch. And then it says down there, but there's no photo credit, which worries me. It's like, who owns that photo? And his Longines watch. This was a little history about his watches, but it also shows you the history of who owned the watches. So A silver pocket watch from 1900 sold by Christie's in 2016. You might be able to look it up and say Christie's sale 2016 Einstein silver pocket watch, new owner. You might be able to find out who actually bought it. 1930 Longines wristwatch sold by Antiquarium in 2008, and 1943 Longines pocket watch in the hands of this German museum. So I can then go to that museum and search that particular pocket watch to actually find it. So then that gives me real source information that I can count on. Pinterest does not. Wikipedia, maybe. And then this tells me a little bit more about the watches. Here's one. It tells me it was a 15 jewel silver Swiss pocket watch with Arabic numerals and a gilt dial. So this is now giving me more information given directly to Einstein to the said to have been given directly by Einstein to the anonymous person who sold it at auction for $375,000. So we don't know. But if it was anonymous, then you might not be able to find out from Christie's who actually bought it. But this is now giving you more information. And so then I can look at it and I can say, well, if I want to use this watch as inspiration, there was in the description telling me what was in there. So I could put more information about that aesthetic. See, there's the photo credit, Christie's. I don't know how important it would be to know more about him. He received a 14 karat yellow gold Art Deco Longines wristwatch. So there again, it's telling you more about the wristwatch, very much in line with the design of the time of its conception in 1930. So you sort of have to go in there and really read the content to figure out what's real and what's not. And when I looked at if I just did without the word Einstein in there, so it's like following the trail. So I did without I'm just saying Berlin because in the 1930s, this was really a location for industrial design and product design. Etsy, these may or may not be real. You don't know. This one may or may not be real. It's hard to know. So you can start looking up the brands and see if you can figure out the history of a brand. How long it was. So see here, watches, you see how important the wrist is? Because now I see the size of the watch face in relationship to the hand and the wrist. And I see very little of the band. And then, I'm never sure about some of these websites, whether they're blogs, whether they have accurate information or not. A blog to watch. Let's see what's featured article. Introduction to vintage Soviet watches, 6 gateway watches for new collectors. So this is for collectors. And you would hope that the information is accurate since it's for collectors. But here again, I have to really read through this and then I can see more about, so this is vintage watch game. By looking at Swiss and Japanese watches, vintage watches. Okay, so, here's information if I think it's useful. Omega Speedmaster was the first watch on the moon. If I want to know more about that, then I would use that as a search term and find out the date. When was this? Where is it now? That kind of information. Are there any articles about what happened to it, or what did they do with it? That kind of thing. Then also, depending on the year, it would be what is similar. So the thing is that you have to be sure about some of these blogs. The my costume design class, when they were researching some of the historic textiles, some of them would come across these blogs that were more recreation of the pattern. And you don't really know how close they are to the original because they're not showing it to you. So I had to really go in and look at the sourcing because that particular one was no good. It was more, isn't this cool? But it was for modern audience. So again, it's not real research. So this whole thing about research, you've got essentially two avenues. You've got the library, and the best thing to do is to get the librarian to help you. You got your own private research librarian, use them. The other source is you can do Google or some of the other search engines, but you really got to pay attention to what it's showing you. And words like vintage and historic and specific time periods, if I can find it. So see, if I say Art Deco without giving it a specific date, who knows what I'm going to get? I could get modern deco. It could sort of sidetrack into something else that has nothing to do with it.